Hey gang, Craig Ripley here. Welcome once again to Living Off the Slab. For this video, this is number 3 in the series on the future of the U.S. motorcycling industry. And we've been asking the question, can the U.S. motorcycling industry be saved? And does anybody out there really give a shift about it? And we're going to focus on some of the things that we might be able to do in the future to turn things around for the U.S. motorcycle industry. And in particular, we're going to focus on some ideas that were put forth in a roundtable discussion at the International Motorcycle Show in Long Beach, California. And this roundtable was put together by Robert Pandya, and he called it Give a Shift. As I said in the other videos, you can find the documentation associated with Give a Shift in the description of this video, or at least you can find links to where you can find that information, and I suggest that you go read it. It's quite enlightening and very well put together. So the Give a Shift roundtable came up with several recommendations for the motorcycle industry, and those are the things that I want to focus on here. So the first one is that we have to realize that we don't necessarily have a product problem, again, as an industry and as a community, right? We have a desirability problem. And for the most part, I agree with this, right? We have some really amazing stuff that's available to us as motorcycle consumers right now, right? All kinds of genres, all kinds of price ranges, and yes, even entry level. Now, I know it has been a clarion call for a lot of people over the years that we just did not have enough low price entry level bikes in the US market. And I don't know, I mean, I think that if you were looking for a low-priced entry-level Harley-Davidson, yeah, you probably had a tough time finding it. However, if you wanted to go to any of the Japanese manufacturers, they've always been available. And while we're talking about entry-level bikes, I want to mention something that Mr. Pandya said to me while we were having our little discussion. And that is that we need to change how we look at these smaller bikes. Right? In the past, we did call these things entry-level bikes, meaning that these were things that you would buy, ride for a few years, and then get rid of so you could move up to these new, bigger, more expensive motorcycles. And so maybe we need to start thinking differently about these bikes. Right? There's nothing wrong with a 500 or a 750, or even a 400 or a 250 for that matter. They can do a lot of things, and sometimes even better than the bigger bikes, right? So we don't need to keep pushing, right, that these are just entry-level bikes that people are going to dump and get rid of in a couple of years, right? There's something they can ride for a long period of time. The second action item that Give a Shift came up with was to reach out to females and get more women involved in motorcycling. And I absolutely agree with this. Largely, women are an untapped resource for the motorcycle industry, right? Yes, there are a good number of women are riding, and that number is increasing, but still, it's only around 14 or 15% of the overall motorcycle ridership, right? And it has been increasing over the last 10 years by about, again, I think about 14% from what I have read. But there's a long way to go and a lot of room, right, to bring more women into the sport. Now, one thing that the Give a Shift program does suggest is trying to get more mothers involved with the sport. And that is, they figure that if moms ride, then their kids are more likely to ride. So you can create several generations of ridership by getting moms involved with the sport. And while that sounds good on the surface, I'm not sure if that's going to be a very successful plan of action. And the reason for that is something that's pointed out in the Give a Shift documentation itself. Right? The normal course of motorcycle ownership is for younger people to buy motorcycles. Right? When they get into their mid-30s or so, they get rid of these bikes because they're getting married, they're raising families, they are having careers, right? So they're pursuing things outside of motorcycling, right? And I don't see why that would be any different with moms. In fact, it would seem to me that trying to get moms with kids at home to take up motorcycling, right, while their kids are dependent upon them might be a pretty hard sell. Right? But here's one thing that I did not see suggested. And this seems like a really good idea to me, so I'm going to throw it out there for free. And that is that because millennials are really interested in RVing right now, and they are helping the RV industry to grow, well, why not try to piggyback on some of that? Why don't we have some advertising on how motorcycling can fit into the RV lifestyle, right? How smaller bikes can go right along with you and the whole family can participate in this stuff while you're out camping. Again, I haven't seen any of that done, but seems like the logical place to go to me. So action item number 3 is to do relentless self-promotion. And I guess what is meant by that is, at least for us motorcyclists, is that we need to become evangelists for the sport of motorcycling, right? Try to get our friends, bring them to events, get them involved with motorcycling. And while I agree with that wholeheartedly, right, I guess my initial thought on that was, don't we do that already? I mean, literally, I don't know any motorcyclist who isn't passionate about their sport and is eager to share it if anybody wants to hear, right? I mean, look at me. I have this video channel, right, and I have all kinds of people who I follow as well who do this kind of thing, promoting their adventures in motorcycling. Facebook, Instagram, all of the social media sites have just hundreds and hundreds of people who are presenting the motorcycle lifestyle in quite a positive way. I think really what is being suggested here is that the industry itself needs to get more active in self-promotion. And one of the things that Mr. Pandya suggests is creating a website similar to GoRVing.com. If you haven't seen it, go out and take a look at it. Basically, it's a site that's put together by the RV industry, right? And it is a place where anybody can go to ask questions, find out things about RVing, and then get referrals to various dealers or manufacturers here in the United States. So I guess with motorcycling, the idea would be the same thing, right? They would need to get all of the motorcycle manufacturers and suppliers in the industry to come together and then create this website where people can go and get information about motorcycling and how it might fit into the modern lifestyle. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know enough about the inner workings of the motorcycling industry to know if this is a good idea or not. I mean, it sounds like a good idea, but I honestly have no idea whether the manufacturers will work together closely enough to pull something like this off. Now, the one thing that I do see that might be a challenge to doing something like this is the tribalistic nature of motorcycling. Or at least right now here in the United States, we divide ourselves up by brand and by type of bike and by hundreds of other stupid little things, right? Rather than be a cohesive unit, we oftentimes are fighting amongst ourselves. And the last action item that I want to touch on is to try to improve the dealer experience. I mean, we all know as motorcyclists that there are some pretty bad dealers out there. There are a lot of good ones as well. I have a good dealer here, Mom's, in Foxborough, Massachusetts, that is just incredible. They're awesome. But I've also been in several of the smaller dealerships around the area that, well, I haven't had such good experience. I mean, one of the issues is that if I walk into a dealership and I want to know about a particular bike, oftentimes I know more than the guy who's trying to sell me the bike. Right? I've gone online, I've done my research, right? I've read all the magazines, but the guy trying to sell it to me, he hasn't. Also, a lot of these dealerships are more concerned with making the sale, right? Getting me to buy that entry-level bike so that I can trade it in to get the big bike, rather than trying to find something that is going to fit for me, for the style of riding that I want to do, right? And they really don't take the time to do that. More often, they just want to sell you the big ticket item. So while we know that dealers definitely need some help, right, I guess the problem is going to be here, how do you go about doing that? And I guess what Give a Shift wants to do is to come up with a program, right, where you can go in and train dealers, train the salespeople, right, to be better communicators, to be better facilitators of the motorcycling experience, right? Rather than just try to sell them whatever's going to make them the most money, try to figure out how to better serve the motorcycle. Now, if you can pull this off and you can put together a program and go out and retrain motorcycle dealerships, I mean, this sounds like a pretty good idea to me. Right? And I think a good model to doing that would be REI. Have you guys ever been into an REI store? Right? I mean, they're really pretty cool just to walk around in if you're into camping and outdoor activities. Right? But they have really well-trained staff people there, at least in my experience they have. They're really knowledgeable about the things that they're talking about, and they've been out there actually doing them. Right? Unlike some motorcycle staff, I mean, they have an interest in motorcycles, but they work so often they don't get to ride much. And another thing that REI does that would probably be a great idea for motorcycle dealerships is to have these little seminars. Right? REI will have a seminar that might cover action cameras or how to use a compass or a GPS or how to pick out the right stove, right? Packing for a trip, all kinds of things that they do at the store. So they get people in the store, they educate people, right? And then probably sell some stuff too. All right, guys, so I think that's all I want to say here about Give a Shift and about these action plans, right? I've let you know a little bit about how I feel about them. And I'm sure that if we talk long enough here, we could come up with some more things. And that's exactly what I want to do now. I want you to tell me some of the things that you think, right, can be done to improve the motorcycle industry. And guys, please be nice. I don't care if you disagree with me, but just do it in a respectful manner. If you start calling me names or calling other people names, well, I'm just going to boot you out, right? So it doesn't really do you a whole lot of good. And of course, if you like what we're doing here, please subscribe and then check out the description of this video for ways that you can help support this channel and keep the videos coming.